Okay, we are live today, and of course, this is Jono, and I'm here with Pat Kennefic, our Director of Customer Success, and um, we're really excited to continue on this topic of enrollment management. And let's just see who is with us today. Currently, we've got Matthew. Matthew, if you could go ahead and um, just give us a chat just to make sure that you're hearing us okay. So if you could, in the right side um, of the screen, you should see a chat box, a little window where you can, it says write your message here. And if you type in there, we'll just give us a yay or nay if you can hear us. Well, a yay, obviously. If it's a nay, you won't be hearing me. Okay, we have a confirmation. I'm being heard. That's good. Good start. I'll switch my camera on. All right. Hello, Matthew. Let's see. We're just going to wait a few minutes, see if anybody else hops on to the webinar before we continue today. And Matthew, if we'll wait another minute or so. If nobody else comes on, since it would just be you, I'd be happy to address any particular questions that you have. It doesn't have to be a specific topic. We can we can just give you you know the option to pick your adventure today. So we'll just wait one more minute, see if anyone else hops in for the enrollment. But if not, you can either just let us, we can do the enrollment topic, or we can, and that's going to be taking a look at how to go a little bit further with forms than we have in the past. We're going to build a workflow, and from the inquiry. And so we could do that, or we could, if you've got a particular question, but using some other part of the product, feel free to ask that in the chat box, and we can dive into that. So feel free to go ahead. At this point, Matthew, I'll just let you let us know if you want to do something else, or if you want to just stick on the topic of today, which is using the forms to build an automated enrollment workflow. Hey, Emma's here. Hey, Emma. Okay, so I'm going to kick off the webinar today. What we're going to do is similar to what we did last week. We're going to take the inquiry form that we looked at last week, and last week what we did is we built a really simple inquiry form and automated notification process. So this week, what we're going to do is use a more advanced tool, which is the workflow. Now, what the workflow does is it adds in some more types of automated steps. So it adds the ability to create a linear automated process that can include not just notifications like we've already shown, um, but also you can create tasks for particular users or types of users. And you can also create users from the workflow, which is really handy. Let's say you've got a workflow built into your enrollment form. So if at some point basically you are accepting that student or that family, it can automatically create a user into the system. And so what I'll do is I'm going to start sharing my screen. And let's see here. Okay. Okay, so this is basically the type of flow as a high-level strategy. And Pat, if you could just let me know if you're seeing my screen okay, so I don't waste my breath.
We're seeing it, Jono.
Excellent. So, you might have a Facebook ad or some search traffic hitting your site going into your inquiry form. And then over on the right panel here, so this is, again, this is the type of diagram we draw up when we're planning out a workflow. So this is actually part of our process when we work with a school to help plan out creating an automated enrollment process or any type of automated workflow. We use this tool, this type of diagram. So laneway diagram, because it makes it really clear. It identifies what happens, when it happens, and also who who needs to perform the task. So as an example here, on the left side we've got parents, and on the right side we've got a school office, right? So that could be anyone in the office. You could even add a third or a fourth laneway depending on what your process is. Just as another example, something I was talking about with another customer, we built a workflow around using the forms to do a much simpler process than an enrollment, actually using it to do an incident report. So what happens with that is we actually have three laneways for that one. It's a shorter workflow, but there's more people involved. So what happens is the teacher fills out the incident report, and within that incident report, they even while they're filling out that report, they type the message to the parents. They're selecting the type of incident and what happened and occurred, and they're also inputting the actual message that's going to the parent. And then what happens is the next thing, it sends that message first to an administrator who wants to be able to approve that message before it actually gets sent to the parents. And then upon clicking approve, and they can click approve right inside the email. So the school administrator gets an email, has the message in there, and then they have a link they can click to approve it, and then upon approving it, it goes out to the parent. So that's an example of another scenario where you can use these tools. Here, regarding enrollment, what happens is the form gets filled out, and then the admin gets a notification, and again, the notification will it'll just be a one click inside the notification, but they just have to identify whether so it's a fairly standard process. Not all schools do this, but a lot of schools do vet. They want to decide after a parent signs up for a tour, or identifies that they want to inquire about the school or come in to meet the school. The staff want to generally talk to them, and just because that gives you the opportunity. So if your approach is, this is really important, if your approach is to do one-on-one tours, as opposed to like a regular open house, this becomes very important. So if you if somebody is interested in coming in to see the school, or coming in for a tour, or just interested in learning more, somebody should be talking to that prospective parent, and just uh, with one of two goals, basically, to vet the parent to make sure that you are interested in having the parent come in, and of course, the majority of the time that's the case. And but there sometimes it's not, and sometimes they're just not looking for you. So you want to have a short conversation. You want to qualify that parent for the next step in the process. So you want to ask things like, you want to ascertain, are they interested in Montessori and what your school does? Are they interested in really more of an academic approach where they actually value giving kids lots of homework and things like that? Things that are much more sort of public school oriented. Like you want to find out if they're really looking for a Montessori program, or a program maybe, in a more general sense, just a program like you offer, and if they're going to be worth it for you to spend an hour or so, giving them a tour and talking to them and investing your time. So really, you should really protect your time, and keep it available to parents that are much more that at least um, more in line, or more actually, if they're looking for the type of school that you offer, because giving tours to parents that are more likely um, not interested ultimately in what you offer, even if they come in for a year, you know they probably have a higher probability of leaving within a year, which just, and when they leave, sometimes they take other families with them. So it's really important to protect your time and protect your school from uh, potentially damaging customers. So um, so you want that step. All that is to say that there should be a step there where you basically click approve or no, right? So now if you click approve, what's going to happen automatically is that they should get some emails, and those emails should also have that goal of um, helping that customer identify, number one, um, you know uh, is this a school that they should really be looking at? Is it a fit for them? And if that is a yes, then it should be driving them to book a tour, and so that should drive them to the calendar where they can select a tour, and it can be automated. Now, that's not to say that you can't go in and just book them. So let's just say, by the way, you at this point in time, you're on the phone with them, and you've vetted that, they're definitely a perfect match for your school, or at least they're an ideal prospective parent so far, and and you're able to just go ahead and book them. So you should use the same tool, but by doing so, um, you know, uh, they don't have to go through these emails anymore, right? So essentially, the system should be set up so that you can leapfrog these steps. When you can manually move the yourself, put the parent at the next stage, and the system will basically move the parent to here, to this. So let's say, you've gone and you've gone and booked them. So now the system's going to know that they don't need to get those emails, and it'll move them to the next to the appropriate stage of the process with this inquiry. So and then then they come in, they have the tour, and you're like in love with these people, they're in love with you, you definitely want to get them to apply. So again, you can just send them to you can with one click, you can send them a notification that's pre-written, and has a link for them to go to the application form and fill it out. And again, alternatively, they could fill out the application form right in front of you. And again, that will to that stage, so they don't need to get that email. So the scenario is always making sure, so the system is going to make sure that they're going to get that email with a link, or they're going to already perform the action, or you're going to perform the action that moves them further down the process. All right. So, okay, how is that built in the system? All right. So let's take a look at this form. So first of all, let's just go to, let's pretend that we're actually a prospective parent, and we're going to go to the home page. So let's just say we just we're surfing on Facebook and we see your ad for this school. It's sounds like a great school. Yes, I'm looking around for a place to put my child, and I click on the ad, and it takes me right here to this great home page, or a specific landing page here on your Hubbli site. And then they see this big button, enroll now. Okay, now that could say enroll now, or it could say, click here for enrollment information, whatever. And if they click on it, right, it takes them right to the form. And here is a very, very simple version of an inquiry form. It's the same one that we looked at last week, filling their name, email, phone number, and maybe the type of program they're looking at, and they hit submit. Okay, so real simple process. Now, so this is that form. So as we recall, if you recall last week, here's the form, but right there's a field here that we didn't see. Now this is what's called an admin field. So if I open this up, this is the status field. So we use this as a way of tracking where they are in the process, and moving that prospective parent down the different stages. So let's just say we've got a couple processes here we need to add. So we've got approved for tour, not approved for tour. We can have booked tour. So these are kind of like very similar to what any sales professional will call a pipeline. Book for tour, and then approved for application. Okay, so a couple of stages here that we're going to use for. We're going to use this as these are your inputs. So these are for the admin to select, and depending on the selection, we'll kick off the next stage, the next step in the automation. So each one of these selections here, these inputs or these options, will be tied to another step. So we'll use what's called conditional logic with these steps to be triggered by one of these selections. Go ahead and save that. So this admin field is only visible from the admin side by the admin or an admin of the site. It doesn't show up on the actual form. And what we'll do now is go to workflow. So what we're going to do is start adding in the workflow steps that coincide with that diagram I showed you. So we're going to add a step. So upon submission, what's the first thing that should happen then? The first thing that is going to happen is, so this will be what's called a user input. So the user input is the step where a user like yourself will go and make an input into that admin field we just created. That's the input. It can be anything, but for this purpose, this is what generally makes a lot of sense. So we'll call this approve for. So now we're going to select a role. So we'll just say that any administrator can be assigned that. Okay, so now you can pick a specific user, or you could select an administrator. And the field that's going to be editable is that status field. And I'm getting into the details here, but we're just selecting some of the different settings. So basically they can just update that status field. And when they go to update it, they're just going to see the status field. Okay. So I'm not gonna edit the actual message that goes out in the notification to the admin. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this quickly, stick to the high level rather than get into too many of the details here. But we've created a step, so let's go back to the list and take a look. So we've got one step so far. Okay, so step one is approve for tour. And we're gonna add a new step. So when they are approved for tour, so this is this step will be a notification to the prospective parent um, that will ask them to go and book a tour using the Hubbli site appointment calendar. So we'll just title this invitation tour. This will be a notification. That's the type of workflow step that we're using for this one. And we're going to use the workflow notification. It's going to go to, now this notification is not going to go to a user or to a role because this parent is not yet a user in your system. We're just selecting the email field. So that's who it's going to send to. And let's just make this real quick. What this message will say, thank you for your inquiry. You obviously would make this much more wordy, but thank you for your inquiry. Please click the link to book a tour, right? So something that's about as short as you could make it. And this link would be the appointments link on your site. So say we go over to here to, I think that's the link that we have here on the demo site. Let's just check that out. Yep. So they could click here to any of these. This is just an example, but it could be, you could create as many different, booking calendars as you want and put them on any page you want. So we'll just use this one as an example. And we'll say, click here. And go ahead and make sure it's a link. All right. And update that. So we've made a quick notification. Oh, I forgot one step. We have to make this conditional because this should only go out if you have approved them for the tour. So enable condition for this step. Important step here. So status is approved for tour, right? Now you could actually create another notification that goes out when the status is not approved. It could be like, which would, I don't think it's really necessary, but it could be, if you really wanted to communicate something to them or an apology or for, or even just, thanking them for, for their interest and maybe some other type of message like, we'll follow up with you, you know, or at some point. I don't know, like obviously you want to be truthful and not disingenuous, so you could, I don't think there's really any reason to say anything, but if you wanted to, you could add another notification that's sent based on that condition. Okay, so we've got a couple steps here in the workflow. And we're going to add another notification. And this notification is actually going to go out on the condition that you have approved them for the application process. So this is invitation to apply for school. So we'll make this a notification. And we're going to add a condition here. Status is approved for application process. We'll create this quick notification. Again, it's going to go to the parent email. And you can specify who the name that it comes from, the email, all this stuff. But for now, we'll just keep it all standard. Say, so at this point, it would be thank you for coming to see our awesome school. Please do apply. And here is a link to the online application form. And that'll probably be something like, we've got a form in here somewhere, some example application form kicking around here. We probably have 5 of them. There it is. So grab that link. Go back to the workflow. Paste the link. We'll make it an active link. Oops. There you go. And of course, as I've shown in the past, but might as well do it for good measure, just one time. You can add some branding on here, take your logo, make these messages, look professional, and it's important to do this stuff because it, creates a higher sense of trust with your prospective parents. Of course, more professional you come off, the better. As long as you don't sacrifice your warm tone. Awesome. Overused. Oh, Grammarly says don't use the word author. I'm going to say excellent. Thank you, Grammarly. You're the best. Okay. And we're going to hit update settings. So, and this has been, I've been doing this for 20 minutes, and, getting the, the layout. Now, I would say go in and, you can add multiple notifications that go out at different stages. So let's actually take a look at the one of the other steps here. And the first notification. So this is the one to book a tour. So I want to show you guys something. So we can actually schedule this step. So we can delay this step by a certain amount of days or hours or even minutes. Or you can set it on a specific date. In this scenario, if you wanted to send out a few notifications, it would, this is the feature you do. So let's say you wanted to schedule a few notifications to go out, after somebody, after you have approved them for the tour, but they have not yet booked the tour, and you want them to book the tour, then you can send out maybe, a series of notifications that are timed. So this is how you could do that. So this one could go automatically, right? But then we could create another one that, would go out maybe one day or maybe even a week later. Like if you give them a week and remind them, hey, still need to book that tour. So I'm going to go back to the workflow. And this is so we'll duplicate this step. Wait a sec. I think I clicked the wrong one. No, I didn't. It's over here. So I'm going to move that up. So you just drag that right up. And I'm going to edit this one. So I'll just identify this as, invitation to book tour number 2. And the condition to this is status is approved for tour, and we can add another condition. Status is not booked tour. So if they book the tour, right, then he doesn't need or this parent, he or she, doesn't need this notification to go out. So this is only going to happen in the case that it is approved for tour and is not booked tour. So just using that condition there, and so you could either just send the same reminder email, or you could say, hi, so and so, just as an example. Okay, and we'll take their first name. Hi, first name. Thanks again for inquiring about our school. As a, have a slightly different message there that makes more sense for a second attempt. The point here, the goal here is to have a nice, clean, linear process that you can always use and track. So approved for tour, and then they get this notification, and then they get this notification. And it would even be a good idea, even on this notification, to make it so it doesn't get sent out if they got booked. If you already, let's say on your first call, you went ahead and booked them for the tour, right? So then they wouldn't need to get this notification. So we should add that additional conditional logic that the status is not booked for tour, because you will update that status to that point when you book them for the tour, which tells the system, don't send this notification, it's unnecessary. So these are the steps here that are, again, there could be more steps, it could be more involved, but this is how you build this automated workflow. And I'm just going to pause this for 1 second. Okay, and what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to actually fill out this form as if I'm a prospective parent. So I'm going to go to demo.hubbli.com. I won't be logged in, and I'll just make a fake account while I do this. Enroll now. Say test parent. Mailinator.com. And I'm interested in preschool, so I'm going to fill that out. I'm going to go to Mailinator. Okay, so this is the the inbox of the test parent there. So what we did is we actually had it auto direct to this tour booking schedule, right? So that's another thing you can do. We talked about that last week, auto confirmation. So the confirmation could just say, hey, thank you for your interest, or it could direct them to another page on the site. So this one directed me over to the tour booking schedule. But let's say you are the say that you are the admin. So here is the submission from that form. I'm just going to see, because I'm actually signed in as another account. I just want to make sure it's going to the right person. All right. I'm just going to pause my screen real quickly. So whenever you want to check if there's anything to do for any of these workflows, you can get the notification, to your email, but you can also just go over to workflows, and you've got an inbox in here. And so this inquiry shows up here. So this is the user input step for the workflow. If I click on that, so the step is approve for tour, and I just go into this and I say either approve for tour or not approve for tour. So in this step, this is the initial step where it's approved for tour. So if I check that off and hit update, so this is me as the admin taking the first step to, I've called that person, I've talked to them, or for whatever reason, I'm ready to approve them for the tour. So that's now I've performed that task. And if I go back to the, so here we go. This is the inbox now for for the parent. This is that notification that got sent. It says, "Hi, first name. Thanks again for inquiring about our school. Please click the link to book a tour." So I didn't have to write this message. I just had to go in, look at the inbox, click on it, or you can get a notification that also leads you to the inbox to click on it. And I click, and by doing so as the admin, the parent gets this message. And this, of course, this message could be anything you want. This is just a short one we whipped up. And now it takes me, as the prospective parent, it takes me right to that place to book that tour. And then as the admin of the site, I can go into the status of all my workflows here, and I can select the inquiry form. So you might have multiple workflows, and you want to see the status of all the different, entries of that workflow. So here is that entry here. And these are ones from the previous attempts. And if you click on the particular entry again, it takes you right into that entry. You can see where they're at, and you can see any notes that's happened. Naomi approved for the tour, sent notification, and these are all the details of that particular prospective parent. So let's say that that parent did the tour, and I want to actually identify that they're ready. Like we're ready to move them into the the next stage. So that would be updating the entry from approve for tour to approve for the application process. I apologize for the lag and how long it's taking to go from page to page. It's because we're using the Google Hangouts. It takes a long time. So if I go into the entries for that form, for the inquiry form, and I look at the entries, So I'm actually going to adjust this so it's a little easier to read. I'm just changing this display here so that there isn't as many columns. So I can go to this parent and I can edit it. And I can say, so they've approved for tour, they've booked tour, or they're approved for the application process. So a few different statuses of this parent. If I hit update, so remember we created a notification that goes out if they're approved for the application process. So if I go back to that fake parents fake email inbox, I should get a notification. Just double check that that was set up correctly. So take a look at the workflow. So this invitation is to apply for the school. And status is approved for tour. Approved for application process, I mean. Okay, it's set up right. And it goes to the email, which is the right one. Okay. I think I actually might have needed to edit this one that we had duplicated. It might have made this one end the workflow. No, that's correct. Let's see. Of course, when you're demoing something, when something doesn't work. Always test things before you demo them. That's the rule. Invitation to apply for school. Just double check this notification. Oh, I know the problem. I messed up. I should know better. If we go back to the workflow, we didn't create an input for after the tour. So I'm just going to add a new one here. So this is, approve for application process. And this is a user input, and this is going to happen automatically. And it goes to the administrator. I'm just going to make a quick notification here. So this proof, and I'll say name for the application process. We'll even add the link here. To go right there. So that workflow edit link will, that notification will come to the inbox of whoever it's assigned to. So they can just click on it. Just for a good measure, I'll make sure this is assigned directly to me. And we need to add this to here. So now this is the order. So there's a user input for the administrator, and then there's notification that goes out to the parent, and then there's another user input for the administrator to approve for the application process. And upon doing so, this notification goes out. So I'm going to go to the workflow status here. So right now this one is complete, but it shouldn't be because it should go through that extra step, which we just added. So I'm actually going to restart workflow for that particular user. And I'm going to say approve for tour. So it's kind of like going through the steps again. We got the notification again. There's a double notification going out because it's just a setting. There's an extra old notification from the first time we built this form, but this is the notification. Again, you vetted them, you approved them for the tour by checking that radio button. They get this link, they book the tour, and then you would go back and you could say, you know what, now they're approved for the application process. You can hit update. We go back to the inbox. Did I forget something else? I should get that now. So this step is here. So this user, we can actually even see, by the way, when you look at the workflow steps and you've got parents at different stages here, you'll be able to see all the different how many prospects are at what stage, and you can click on that link to go directly to them. So I'm going to check out the workflow inbox here, because if I should have message myself. So that notification that I made as the task, to myself. Like if I'm the person that is supposed to approve that person for the application process, um, that just sent to me right here. So this was, again, sent to me automatically. Now this is the link that takes me right uh, to approve them for the application process. So the task comes to me automatically, gives me a link, and we can make that link a big button or whatever. You can make that message however you want. And now they've already been approved for the process because I did that manually, but it takes me to the same place. I just wanted to show you that link. And here is the invitation. That was the other one from before. Yeah, this last step isn't sending out. I'd have to take it. There's probably a setting that I'm neglecting to set up, but essentially, so that's the process. You've got a combination of notifications to the staff that need to perform activities, and user input. Like, so they just go in and they edit that admin field, or they can approve, or not approve, um, and whatever field or action they need to take. This is all configured, of course, ahead of time. We set it up for your school specifically. They go through that process, and they check that box. The parent will then get the appropriate notification depending on the status you gave that parent, and lead them to the next stage in your workflow. And then depending on what stage they get to or another input, again, I created that notification. It's sent to me to approve them for the application process. So went right to my inbox. It led me right here. They were already, had I not already approved them for the application process, it would have allowed me to click that. So again, if I actually, let's say I restart this, if I restart this step, I'll restart this step just to show you, and I'll go back to my inbox. So here is that that notification I got: approve Jono test parent for the application process. I click on that, takes me right to the task I'm supposed to make, right, as the admin, and I click approve for application process, and I hit update. And this is when there's supposed to be another notification that goes out, but for some reason it's not showing up. Could also be this Mailinator program. But that is, generally speaking, how you can create a process that works the same way and allows you to make these messages to the parents at different stages and tasks for the administration automated, so that they never lose any parent along the way. So again, so let's say I was to like take this parent and just restart them completely in the workflow. And let's say we go to the to that form, the inquiry form. I'm going to take a look at the workflow. Right. So right now we've got one parent at this stage, right? So meaning somebody submitted the workflow, and that parent is at this stage in the workflow, which means there's which is the approved for tour workflow, which means that somebody has to go take an action. And that action would be to, approve them or not for the, to be invited into the tour. So if I click on that link, it takes me to that entry. And let's say, this person, I'm just gonna go ahead and edit this entry, but this person, I talked to them, we already booked the tour, and you know, so they're already this is from before, but the status is approved for tour or not. You can go ahead and edit any of these statuses at any point in time so that you can identify where they are, right? So are there any questions about this? There's a lot of steps in this process for setting it up, and that's why our approach to doing this is when a school wants to create one of these automated workflows, we actually set up a daily daily sessions with you. We approach it just like our training program every day for 10 days, and we start off by mapping out your workflow like this. And so we get a really clear understanding of all the steps that you go through and what your process is and who does what. We map all that out first on the diagram like this. Every school will be slightly different. You might skip this step and add it down later. You might not do one-on-one tours. You might only do group open houses. So depending on your process, we work with you to make sure that that's clear, and we might even consult you and help you improve that process a little bit, and then we work with you to actually set this up on a daily basis until it's complete. So you don't have to like figure all of these tools out for yourself, but we make sure that you've got it all configured properly. And then, gone are the days of losing track of where a parent is within your enrollment process, or having to send manual messages for every step of the way. And also getting, your staff getting automatic reminders when they need to do something, or always being able to log in and see, oh, there's 3 parents that have had a tour but haven't yet been sent the application process, or have not yet filled out the application process for some reason. They're stuck at that stage, and we can go and look at each one of them and either call them or do whatever we need to do. Point is that they're not falling through the cracks anymore, because this is a system that's running through every step. Okay, so we will wrap it up there for today, and look for a topic to address next week. And thanks, guys, for joining, and I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Bye.